Hey guys, welcome to a new tutorial. Today in this one we're going to be creating a music layering system or a music changing system, and what that's going to do is when you start up on your map on your game, it'll play a default song that you've set in the variables. It'll set up a bunch of other music, and when you walk through different trigger volumes throughout the level, it'll change the music to whatever you've set those volumes to change it to. So it's a really cool way of just making your music sort of dynamic, and the cool thing about this system that we'll see as we go on is that if you have a song that you've made yourself, if you're a musician or you've got a musician working for you or whatever, and you've got the same song but with different layers added in, so like maybe you've got like, I don't know, like a piano and then like a violin or something like that, like adding a layer in would be like having your piano thing doing its thing, and then the next layer added on top would be the violin layer, etc., and you could have like voices and whatever and stack all the different kinds of layers up in your song. With this system is as you go through the level and you go through different volumes, you can set it up so layers get added in and the music gets more and more intense without restarting, so they get dynamically added on top of each other. I don't know if that makes any sense to you, but you'll see what I mean as we go through it. So here's a quick little list of things that I'm going to go through today. This is how it's going to work. The first thing that we'll do is we'll place a music thing in the world with a bunch of the songs that we want to play throughout the level. We'll put in the volumes where we want the volumes to be, so when we walk through the volumes the new music will start. And then this is just the, I guess you call this pseudocode for how the music manager switching thing is going to work. And then here's what's going to happen on an overlap. I'm not going to read through that, we'll just go through it and you'll see how it works as we go. So this is just an empty map. I'm in a third person template. So if you just go File, New Level, and go Default Map, you'll end up with this. I'm just going to make this a bit bigger so we've got some room to play around. And I've just created a new folder down here in the content browser, so to do that, I'm sure you know how to do that, but look, if you just go to content, I've got a folder for 2020 here, just right click and go new folder, boom, you're in here. Now the first thing that we're going to create is a blueprint class. We're going to create an actor, and this is going to be called Music Manager BP. And then we'll create another blueprint class and we'll call this music, oops, not a level, sorry. Apparently I can't undo that. Let me see. So that can just go back to 5, and then I'll just delete this. Okay. And then can I save? Yeah, I can save. Cool little trick if you didn't know, if you hold Control Shift and then S, it saves everything that's unsaved in your project. So now if I go to blueprint class and I create another actor and then call this music changing vol BP. Now the first thing that we do is we'll set up the music manager. So let's just dump one of those in the world like that. That's the music manager, that little white dot. To make that a little bit more visible, I'm just going to add a billboard to it really quickly, just so we can click on it easier if we need to move it or whatever. So up in components, add in a billboard. It doesn't really matter what you use, just pick something that you can recognize. Sure, that looks like a musical sprite. Let's just use that. I'm just going to save this level too, by the way. Let's just call this music tutorial. That's really big, I'm just going to make that smaller, so just 0.25 for the scale. Okay, cool, that's our music manager, that can just go over there. Now what we want to do first is we want to create an array inside of this of all the different music we could potentially play throughout the level. So down here in variables, let's just call this, I don't know, track list or something. And this is going to be of type sound base or something, I think. Let's actually, instead of just guessing that, let's just set everything up in here. So what we want to do is we want to, on begin play, we're going to say create sound 2D. You want your music to be 2D, and the sound that we're going to creating, what's this variable type? Sound base object reference, so we want it to be a sound base object reference. Okay. And the track list, you want that to be public so we can edit it for each different level, and the track list is going to be an array type, so we can have a list of different songs. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to create all of these songs in the game. So this track list here, all the songs that we're going to be entering in this, like for example here, oh, I don't actually have any music in here. Hang on, I'm just gonna pause this and import some stuff. So in case you didn't know how to import music, I'm just gonna show you really quick. So here is my content folder for my project. So I've got tutorials, which is the name of my project. I've got a content, and then in my little 2020 folder, I've got a bunch of music copied to my clipboard. I'm just going to paste that in here. And it's important that they're .wav files. I don't think MP3 works in Unreal. So now that they're copied in there, and I go back to the editor, I'll get this little message down here. 8, I think there was 8. So if I go import like that, that's going to do the thing, and now they're all in here. And they should play, hopefully. Yeah. So that one's just a simple sort of like... And then as it goes, more stuff gets added to each different song. So you see what I mean, like all the layers get added in, and as you go through the level, each of those different layers will get added into the track in the background. So what we want to do now is in this track list here is I'm just going to add in a couple of those songs. So if you've got the layers that are building up, you want to start with the most basic one and then progress through them as you go. So for 0, I'll just put the most simple bare bones one, and then I think progressive song number 1 was just a shit one, so I'm just skipping that. So 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. I'm just going to add all these in. You can skip through on YouTube by tapping your right arrow key if you want to fast forward through while I do this. So go ahead and do that if you feel like it, or if you feel like watching me manually enter a bunch of data and talking to myself, that's cool as well. You do you, I'm not judging. Number 7, okay, I think that's it. So now that that's done, these here are just references to the files in here. They don't actually exist in the world yet. So now that we've got this track list, we're using this create sound node to actually create the sounds in the world, and then in this audio component reference off here is the one that we can actually change the volume of, and etc, etc. So what we're going to do for this track list is we're just going to say for each loop, and we're just going to create the sound for each of these. So for the loop body, we're going to go off there like that, and we're just going to create that sound. And then what we're going to do is we're going to grab that sound reference, not promote that to a variable, sorry, we're going to say add array, and we're going to add it to an array which we're going to call I don't know, music references, perhaps. That'll do. Okay, why the hell did I go there? Alright, let's go back. Okay, so now we've created all our sounds. What we might do is, now that we've created that sound, let's actually set the volume to 0. So go set volume multiplier, and the reason we want to set the volume to 0 is we don't want them all to play at the start, so let's just do it like that. I wonder if they actually play by themselves. We might have to type in play too. Yeah, okay, so we'll type in play, but they're all going to play at 0 volume, and this is very important as well. So if you go to your songs down here, highlight them all. How did I do that? I clicked one and then I held shift and then clicked the end, and then press enter to open them all up together. So you can see up here it says 8 sound wave references. And you want to go down to looping. That's very important. They need to loop. And there's another one that you need to click if you want to add in the layers, which is called, it was called simulate or virtualize on silent or something. Virtualize when silent. And this is very important because if you're going to have the volume set to 0, this will actually destroy the sound, and it won't be playing at 0 volume unless you've got that clicked. So that's very important if you want to be adding in the layers. Okay, so now that that's done, so this here has just created a bunch of sounds and they're all playing at 0 volume. So now I guess what we want to do is we want to pick one of these songs to play on the level startup. So I guess what we could do is we could just grab, we'll grab our music references and we'll just say get copy, and perhaps the index of this we can promote to a variable and call this song to play on level begin. and then this one can be a public variable, and we can set that in the editor. So for now, let's just leave that as 0, and then what we'll do down here is we'll just say set volume multiplier, and then we'll have another variable for this, and we'll just call this music volume, just in case we end up with some, like, if our music files are like too loud or whatever, we can quiet that down in here. So let's just set that to 1 for now. Okay, so now if we open up the level, that should play the first song, which is song to play on level begin. Let's just actually change that and call that index of song to play, just so that that's clear. And we can also make this music volume public as well. So now index of song to play, that makes a lot more sense now, because you look at these down here and you can say, okay, if the index is set to 0, it's going to play this song on level begin. So let's see if that actually works. Cool. That's working. So now I guess all we need to do is set up the music changing volumes. So let's go down here into music changing vol BP. We'll add a box collision, and I guess we'll give this a default of like 500 by 500 by 500 by 500, sure. Oops, 5000 is a bit too big. Actually, let's make one of these 100, so it's like a little thing that you just walk through just like that. And we'll give this a billboard as well, so you can easily click on it and see where it is. Let's just use this little lizard dude for this one, that's fine. And let's actually put that up at 500 and make it a little bit bigger. 5, yeah, something like that. And this box, let's put that up like that. So now if I drop this in the world, you can see it just like that. I know that you can give these volumes colors somehow. I'm not sure how to do that. So that's the shape color, but I know that you can actually highlight the overlap. But if you know how to do that, leave me a comment, because I'm kind of curious and I can't be bothered figuring it out for myself. So now that we've got that there, we just need to set up the overlap event, I guess. So when something overlaps this, when the player overlaps this, this needs to send a message to the music manager to change the song in here. So the first thing that we're going to need in here is we'll have a custom event, which will be called change music to. And what that'll do, actually, before we do that, so this music references thing, this one that we just got here, we're going to need to save that as a reference to the current music that's being playing, because we're going to need to fade that out when we change the song down there. So let's drag off of this and just promote that to a variable, which we'll call current music ref. Hopefully this is making sense so far. We'll just keep going, and you can ask me any questions that you've got in the comments, and I'll do my best to help you guys out if you get stuck. So the first thing that we're going to do when we change the music is we're going to set the volume of this to 0, and this will continue playing because we've had it set virtualize on silent to true, so it'll continue playing while the volume's 0. So we set the volume of that to 0, and then what we do is we grab our, we'll grab this here, except we don't want the index of the song to play and begin play. We're going to have an index from when this event's called. So this can be index of song to play, and so this will be called from this guy over here, and it'll change the song to this song. So we'll say set volume multiplier of this guy, and that can just be music volume like that. And that should be as simple as that. Oh, and the last thing that we need to do, the current music ref, we're going to need to set that to the new song that we've got. Cool. That should do the job. So if we go back to our music changing volume here, we can delete all of that, click on your box, and then say on begin overlap, component begin overlap, if the other actor is equal object is equal to the player pawn. because we don't want the music to play when just anything overlaps. It needs to be the player. I'm about to sneeze. Hold on. Or maybe not. Fucking hell. Sneezing's the worst. What a retarded thing to have happen. Anyway. I completely forgot what I was doing. So when we overlap with the player like that, we are going to need to send a message to the music manager to play the new song. And this doesn't know how to access the music manager just yet. So what we might do on begin play is, let's just say get all actors of class, and the class can be music manager BP, and we'll say get copy, and the index of the copy that we'll be getting is just of index 0, because there will only ever be one of these in each map. And then what we can do is we can save a reference to that and call that music manager ref. So now we have a reference to that music manager. So down here we can grab our music manager and we can say change music to, and this is where we create a variable and we call this music to play on overlap. And then we want to make that public, and then we can set that in the editor. How am I going for time? 10 minutes, and I think before I was probably about 10 minutes, so we're about 20 minutes in. That's okay, it's not too long so far. We're nearly done, by the way, guys. And this is a really cool system. I use this for all my projects now. Like, you only have to build this once, and then you can migrate it from project to project and just continue to reuse it. So now I think that should be everything. Yeah, that might actually be all. So if I so go back to the music manager volume, let's just grab this box and untick hidden in game so we can actually see where it is. So we're going to spawn there facing this way, so this box can just be there, and that's going to change the music to 1. Now 0 is going to play by default, so the way that you'd set this up in a level is you'd have this one here and you'd have that to 0 like that. And say if you had, let me just grab some shapes, put in this retarded block thing. Say you had a linear level where you were passing through a hallway like this. That's a really, really narrow hallway, but whatever, you get the idea. Let me just move all my stuff around a little bit. So say you had a hallway like this and you were progressing through your level that way, and you wanted the music to be getting more and more intense as you went, but also change back if you went backwards. This is how you do it. So you'd set up a volume like that, so when you walk through this way, the music that's playing is going to be the song at index 0. So this one won't do anything because it's just changing it to index 0. But when you walk through this one, it'll change it to index 1, so the song will get more intense as you come through this way. But then as you go back, it'll go back to index 0 because you've got that volume there. So now, if I copy both of those and then duplicate them over here, we can do the exact same thing. So this one can change it to 1, and then this one can change it to 2, just like that. Now, fingers crossed, hopefully this works. Let's jump in and see. So it's playing song 0 right now. Hopefully that isn't too loud and you can still hear what I'm saying. So 0 is still playing. And now is song 1 playing? Yeah, okay, it is. You probably can't tell, but I can tell because I made the music. Now if I go through this one, now it's got the harmony in that little melody. Yeah, okay, so it's working. If you don't believe me, which I wouldn't blame you for, you could put a little print string in here and you could just say, you could drag off here and say append. I think my computer just started going really slow all of a sudden. Hopefully that's not causing it to lag on your end. Interesting. Oh well. I'm not doing anything that's important at the moment anyway. You should be able to follow along even if it's been a bit skippy. So what I'm doing is I'm just going print string, append, and I'm going to say music playing, and then I'm going to hook B up to the current music ref. So now you'll get a little message whenever it tries to change the song. So if I start, it's trying to change to 0, change to progressing song 2, still on 2, and now it's changed to song 3 when I'm at here. And if I go back through, now it's playing 2 again, and now it's back to 0. Okay, so I think that's everything that I wanted to show you. And yeah, this does get really, really cool as you add like a bunch of these in, because the player will be going through your level, and like the game will obviously be getting more intense and ramping up in difficulty, and the music will be jumping up to match it, but it'll be like sort of subtle because it'll just be like one layer being added at a time, as you know, one element of your game is being added one at a time. So it is quite immersive and it does work really well. Now let me just check that if I had anything else to do. So music manager, the volumes, create all sounds, blah 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 blah, save the reference. No, I think that's it. That's everything. So cool. Thanks for watching, guys. If you have any questions about any of this, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to help you out. If you have any tutorial requests, leave me a comment, and if I feel like doing them, I'll get around to them if I think they're interesting and I'm capable. So I think that's it, guys. Thanks, I'll see you next time. One more thing, guys. The tutorial's finished, but if you want to watch, I'm just going to quickly play through a tutorial actually for a game that I've recently made that uses this exact same music system that I showed you, just so you can see how you might set it up in your own game and sort of how it works. I've used the same songs too that I actually showed you in the tutorial. So again, this is the end of the tutorial, so feel free to watch if you want. If you don't, that's cool. And don't ask about any of the shit that happens, because it is not going to make any sense. Hopefully it's not too laggy. And if you notice, up in the top right, top left of the screen, sorry, you can see the names of the songs changing. See, it says progressing song 4 at the moment, and it'll probably change to 5 now. I just realised the key message overlaps with the tutorial message at the bottom. Well, currently fixing that just made the final game. So now it's got the full music right now. Like the strings, there's synthetic thing, like lots of layers It's subtle how the transition happens. You don't really notice while you're playing. It starts getting really intense and Alright, that's it, guys. See you next time.